Hey, Internet, and welcome to the September 9th edition of Pearls of Wisdom. I'm Dave Walton. It is the end of the first week of classes here at Western University. I've had a great week getting to know the new Masters of Physical Therapy entry-level degree students who started with us this week, as well as our postgraduate students in the Masters of Clinical Science program in Manual Manipulative Therapy that have returned to school in an effort to increase their clinical reasoning skills in MSK and orthopedic physiotherapy. I quite enjoy this time of year, as you can imagine. It's a great opportunity to sort of get revitalized and see all these wonderful sort of fresh new faces that are keen to frankly heal the world. They're starting on their path towards becoming professional helpers and professional healers, and I feel privileged to feel as though I play even one small part in their development towards that goal. I have a weird teaching load for our MPT program, just the way my teaching works. In my current role, I teach the very first lecture of their very first class of their very first year, actually the first two lectures, and then I don't see the majority of our students again until their very last class of their very last year. So it's a bit unfortunate. I don't get a chance to know the students as well as I would like. But on the other hand, I sort of have this unique opportunity to see how they sort of develop in like weird snapshots from time one sort of to time two, to put it in very academic terms. The two lectures that I teach in the first year are really introductions to pain and pain management. And so I get basically 4 hours at most, more like 3 hours, 3:15, to try and give them sort of a taste of what it means to be a physiotherapist who helps manage pain. And so, of course, I have to cover the basics, as you would expect, and one of those continues to be the gate control theory of pain modulation. And I think many people who have gone through physiotherapy education probably will recognize the gate control theory. It's been a staple of sort of physiotherapy-based pain management for, 50 years, I guess, since it was described first by Melzack and Wall back in 1965. In fact, here I am with Dr. Melzack looking as though I am a teenage girl who just met Justin Bieber. This was back in 2010 at an IASP conference in Montreal. And at the time, had a great chance to chat with him briefly. And he himself recognized that the gate control theory probably needs to be updated. It's getting a little long in the tooth. Yet we still teach it. It's part of the basic understanding of physiotherapy, for better or worse. And, I got thinking about it since that time, actually since this conversation with Dr. Melzack, about why it is that this model has had such staying power and why we continue to teach it to our students. I think the reason it's had the staying power is because it's simple. Now, I've just got an example here from a 2012 paper in Psychology Reviews that just really is meant to be a refresher for those of you who've forgotten the gate control theory. Anyway, the concept being that nociceptive information coming in through small diameter fibers sort of open the gate and send information on potential damage or harm through to our central nervous system, such that our big supercomputer up here can process it and, if necessary, cause us to experience pain and probably withdraw from the stimulus and that sort of thing to prevent damage. As the theory goes, information traveling through large diameter afferents, these are low threshold afferents, more responsive to light touch than to actual tissue damage, has the effect of closing the gate, and it has a lot to do with this interneuron here in the substantia gelatinosa. And I don't intend to go through the gate control theory. I'm sure, as I say, many of you are familiar with it. It also recognizes the descending control, so the central control of pain modulation. This was further fleshed out by Melzack and Casey in a 68 paper. The question I have, and the reason I like to think about these things, is whether or not this is entirely accurate. I think by now we've accumulated more information on the actual mechanics and the neurophysiology of this process, but the evidence still says, yeah, basically there is convergence of inputs in our spinal cord, and activity through one may influence activity through another. But why? why have we evolved this system? Surely it's more, it goes beyond just being able to rub a bruise or have someone kiss our boo-boo and make us feel better. There must be a reason why our nervous systems have decided to prioritize activity through large diameter afferents, in this case, over the high threshold small diameter afferents. And to think about this, it suddenly hit me. Actually, a pebble hit me as I was driving down the road one day, having my arm out the window of my car behind a big dump truck that was carrying a full load of gravel. And pieces of gravel, of course, were flying off, and one of them inevitably hit me right on the end of my middle finger. I can still feel it almost, my left hand. And as part of sort of not only the stimulus, but also the context, being I'm driving behind this great big massive truck, I'm a little bit sort of, I call it anxious right now. At least I'm more aware of my surroundings because of the fact that I'm driving behind a great big truck. My reaction was quite, whoa, yikes, what just happened? Did a stone just enter my skin? That sort of thing. I'm driving, it's not like I can quickly stop and look at my finger. And as soon as I quickly realized that the stone had actually harmlessly bounced off, that there was really no tissue damage occurring here, the amazing thing that happened was I suddenly felt compelled to rub the end of my finger. And I thought, hey, this is interesting, and I had a chance to sort of do a little bit of metacognitive reflection here, and I thought, why am I so compelled to rub the end of my finger and continue rubbing it? And it was at the point where if I'd stopped rubbing my finger, the sensation of sort of sharp, sort of stabbing sensation, and frankly just my sense of unease would increase. But as soon as I started to rub that, then I was sort of soothed, calmed, whatever the right word is, and the sharp stabbing pain went away, or at least reduced. So I got thinking about that then. If you think about it in that context, here's a thought, just an idea. What if the reason that we've evolved this sort of gate control type of system, call it what you will, is less about simply modulating pain and more about letting the threat detection or the sensory aspects of our supercomputer in our head know that the boundaries of our body remain the boundaries of our body. That my brain, which has a primary role of keeping me safe, keeping me alive, preventing harm and damage, needs to know that nothing is broken, that the sheath around my body, my skin, has not been broken, that my finger is still intact and still occupies the same space, same bodily space as it always has. And this sort of fits with, say, our conceptualization of, let's say, phantom limb pain. If we can imagine, for example, it was not just a little pebble, it was a big rock or something else, and let's imagine it took my finger right off. Now, all of a sudden, my finger no longer occupies the space that it once did, but my somatosensory cortex still has a map of my body that includes my finger occupying this much space. So perhaps the reason that I feel better when I rub the end of my finger after having get it knocked on the end with a sharp pebble is because it calms my threat detection and threat management systems and lets it know that it's all right, we're all still intact. Anyway, perhaps that's a different take on the gate control theory of pain. Be interested to hear your comments. Do you think there's anything here, or am I just talking crazy?